And welcome back to JKLIVE here at Citizen Television. We're having a great time here with a man we can only describe as 9 lives, survived so many horrific accidents, was told he would never walk after his last accident, and now he's walking tall. In fact, he's going to stand for office. He hasn't had enough of politics. He's still going on. Tuju says he just loves to serve the people. Lots of tweets, messages coming in thick and fast. Someone says, tell Tuju we missed the concerts he used to organize. Silverwind, Jesse Dixon, Kanye has never had such concerts in a long time.
Yes.
You did all that?
I did all that. I did all that.
Wow. Someone else is saying that you are the one who recommended to President Kibaki to hire Wachira Waruru as MD of KBC?
Yes, that's correct. I interviewed him.
You interviewed him?
Yes.
Coach.
And that was tough because it was assumed that his dad was not in good terms with President Kibaki. But I knew that he would do the best for that station. And look at what he's done at Citizen.
Look at what he's done.
Yes.
My goodness.
So, you know, he was just the best.
Well done.
Yes.
Coming back to Jubilee, someone says you were pushed and you didn't jump. What do you tell them?
Well, I did ask the president to let me go in December, actually much earlier than that. And December is when I resigned. And it was an agreement that we wait until the NDC, because the NDC was actually supposed to be in December. So when it was postponed, then I stayed on until the president was able to reorganize exactly that succession. But, you know, conspiracy is the spice of politics. So he'll get all kinds of theories, and that's fine.
By the way, the irony is in 2017, your biggest rival, adversary, was Raila Odinga.
And we worked hard to make sure that he doesn't get it.
5 years later, he's the closest thing. I mean, I know it's politics and, you know, there's never permanent enemies, but how does that work?
No, it's the genius of Kenyan politics. I mean, I think during the ODM National Delegates Conference on Saturday, 26th, I mean, it was surreal for me because we were seated there and I was on stage with Ruto, President Uhuru, and so many others on the same stage, you know, pitching to Kenyans why Jubilee should be elected and why Raila, you know, should not be elected. And if you remember what Raila said, I mean, you know, the president would call him Goroki, that madman, and he would call the president the drunkard. But if at all you are to think about those things, then politics is the wrong game for you. Look for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me something. When someone writes the history of this nation,
yes,
and they say March 9th, 2018, the handshake day, was that the milestone? Was that the day we turned the corner?
Yes, I think so. There was a lot of work, you know, in a submarine way before the handshake. But I think that we should appreciate that the two leaders, Raila himself, his patriotism is not in doubt. He was able to look at what was important for this country going forward. We didn't want to go the Somali way. And his credentials as a patriot dates back to the time when he was fighting for more political space in this country as we know it today. President Uhuru, there are times when he was the worst name you could utter in Kikuyu land. He lost Gatundu constituency because he was not Kikuyu enough. So they have a lot in common in that respect.
Is there a possibility that handshake would have backfired? Was there that moment when you all were saying, you know what, it might not work?
Well, if President Uhuru and Prime Minister Raila were not really committed to this, it would have backfired because there were enough people in President Uhuru's camp who thought that that was the worst mistake he had made, and there were enough people in Raila's camp who thought that, look, Mzee, you're being taken for a ride. So it was tough, and going through those moments, it was really tough. But, you know, that handshake, first of all, the Constitution of Jubilee mandated it, that it was the responsibility of the president to reach out to other Kenyans so that this country can become viable. And it was within our Constitution that that was one of the things that is expected of him by the Jubilee Constitution and is expected of him by the Constitution of this country to be, you know, to be the father of the nation. So he rose to the occasion. And let me tell you, I mean, you know, in other countries, places like South Africa, in Tanzania, in South Sudan, I was the other day, they are envious of our country, that we are able to close ranks in this way and work for what is in the best interest of the country.
Yeah. People talk about a two-horse race in the upcoming elections. Is it going to be close?
Well, you know, it's too early to tell. I've been in elections before. I know at what time I'll have a fairly good idea. Give me another 2 months and I'll give you a call and I'll tell you.
I'm going to hold you to that. By the way, my good friend Jimmy Kariuki of Sarova Hotels,
yes,
also KTB, he remembers you as Minister of Tourism and he says you did a sterling job then.
Yes, I think my private sector experience has always been helpful, even when I work in government, because you bring some of that private sector enthusiasm into government.
Yeah. Listen, let's go to the magic wall. There's lots of tweets coming in thick and fast and lots of questions for you. It's incredible. Rafael Tuju, he's running for office. Which one is the big question? Miriam Bo Kevin says, kindly ask Mheshimiwa to tell us about his ambition in Siaya. We are eagerly awaiting.
Well, I'm very flattered because it's one of the most humbling experiences when people from your home have such good words to say about you. You can only thank them. But as I said earlier, is that, you know, I don't want to jump into the scene like a 200-pound gorilla beating my chest that I'm going to take this or take that. I think it has to be where our best fit for Azimio, our best fit to be able to ensure that we win the coming elections as Azimio.
Engineer Lazaro says, due to public demand, we want Tuju to try his luck on Siaya gubernatorial position. We are still remembering his development track record when he was Rarieda MP. I remember, by the way, those days, you did a sterling job in Rarieda.
By God's grace, I tried.
Now they want you in Siaya. Yes. Now they want you for the big seat.
Well, as I said, I'm consulting. I mean, the ecosystem, the political ecosystem in this country and in Siaya is such that there has to be consultations with other leaders and the people of that county.
Okello Mwalimu says, as I commiserate with my former MP and most likely next on unfortunate life-threatening events, I'd like him to highlight his next plan for the great constituency of Rarieda. How did his first year look like after he was sworn in? Remind him that Rarieda pod en Tuju. Rarieda pod en Tuju. What does that mean?
Well, Rarieda is still Tuju. Yeah, but I have a lot of children who I took to school. I think it was something like 250 kids I took through high school. You know, getting sponsorship from different organizations, and now they have formed themselves into groupings and they're trying to help. I'm really humbled and flattered. But once again, I have to respect the ecosystem, the political ecosystem that exists there, and I'll do an announcement as soon as I've finished those consultations.
And your choices are either Siaya or you're even considering Nairobi, right?
Yes, yes. I have those options, and therefore I'm very, very blessed. Not many people have those kind of options. But the bottom line is that I am going to do everything to make sure that Azimio wins. So within that ecosystem, where is best for me to make a contribution, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And look, with the wrangles now happening, or the unsurety of OKA and joining Azimio, can you still go it? Can you still do it without OKA? You know, in general.
I think that It's a political season, and in political season, you know, every politician has got a right to position themselves in the best way that they think will serve them. But I think that it is very, very important that we bring everybody on board, because this is our country, and is a very, very exceptional country, because in some respects, as I've said before, it's a geographical phenomenon. We have all these different tribes, you can call them nationalities. We should congratulate ourselves that despite our differences, we've been able to find common ground and come together. And that's the genius of this country. That's why we are not like some of the neighboring countries that have fallen apart, that have become failed states. Yeah. So I think that there's enough wisdom, enough patience, and enough give and take. And, you know, when I talk to these people, I don't want to say who I've talked to, but those of us who are in this political space, when I talk to them, the will is there that we must work together for the sake of this country, because we have a lot of challenges.
Tell me something, is there a fear, and some critics say there's a fear of going back to 2007. Are we past that?
I hope so. I hope so. And why do I say I hope so? In the sense that, you know, sometimes things happen so quickly that you don't believe what happened. I was in State House on the day that Kiambaa happened, and I was actually standing with the President Mwai Kibaki when, you know, our friend, the current ambassador in Australia, is he? The guy who used to be press secretary. Correct. Yeah, the press secretary at State House. He came with the news, and I was standing, you know, we were talking something with President Kibaki, and he told me, look, a church has been burnt, and several people are feared dead. Now, you couldn't have imagined that happening in this country. You know, just some crazy people did that. Yeah. And, you know, you are journalists, you went into war zones. I was in Rwanda when bodies were floating on River Kagera. Now, if you meet Rwandese people, I've never seen people more gentle than the Rwandese. Now, we are more rough, especially when you look at our Matatu culture.
And do the culture.
Yes, and do the culture.
Yes.
So you worry that, you know, just a small spark can cause a lot of problems. So I would not, you know, I don't want the contradiction of me saying that it cannot happen, then something crazy like that happens. Yeah.
We just hope for the best, absolutely. Saroni says, kindly tell Mheshimiwa to tell us the source of his mental and spiritual strength that has made him withstand all the calamities. A very inspiring leader. What is the source of that?
Faith in God. Faith in God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good answer. Good answer. Gilbert K. Tanky says, kindly ask Tuju the importance of his portfolio ministry, how it has helped the country. How does he feel to be in an office without national assignment? Okay. Minister without portfolio.
Well, first of all, I'm not the first ever to be minister without portfolio in Kenyan history. There was Jaramogi Ngodinga, just as independence, and then there was Justice Madan. So it is a concept that has existed in this country before. I'm glad I've been the third one. But for me to start explaining all the things that I used to do, well, it would take quite a bit, quite a while. But I'm delighted that whatever I did, the president did acknowledge that I tried my best, I did my best, and I'm very humbled.
Yeah. By the way, Jimmy Kariuki is running me. The name you were talking about, Isaiah Kabira.
Yes, Isaiah Kabira.
Former ambassador to Australia.
Yes.
He was in the room with you and the president.
He came into the room where I was with the president to tell us that Kiambaa burning of the church had just happened. It was a shocker.
Shocker.
Yes.
When we signed that deal on February 28th, the coalition government, was that a big sigh of relief? Was that a moment as well?
Yes. Yes, because we have to look for ways of bringing all Kenyans into the tent. We found ourselves in this geographical phenomenon called Kenya. We didn't ask to be brought here, and we have such diversity, you know, from Turkana to Lamu, in terms of, you know, the cultures, the people. you know, this is actually, Jeff, this is the only country in Africa. I mean, you've been a journalist across Africa, but this is the only country in Africa where you have the confluence of the 4 races of Africa. You know, the Ethiopians, the Ethiopian stock, like our Borana brothers from the north, the Somali stock, like, you know, our Somali brothers. They're different races. And then you have the Nilotes, like myself, tall, dark. And then you have the people like yourself from Bantu, from the Congo. And you know that, like the Kikuyu language is a Bantu language, you'll understand each other with the Zuma in South Africa. Correct. But, you know, you'll not understand each other we don't have any common words with the Luo community, for example. So it's an experiment. Kenya, in that respect, is an experiment. And we all have to work for it to succeed because, again, you know, this is where we find ourselves. Our children are growing together, they're intermarrying, and it is our responsibility to make sure that this experiment works. So it's a work in progress? It's a work in progress.
Good one. Bernard Sambu says, Mheshimiwa Tuju was a great Rarieda MP before he was swept by the ODM tsunami. We wish him well again in any endeavors. Just to quiz Raphael, has he resigned as CS? Will he be vying through Jubilee or Azimio?
Well, I resigned as CS in December 31st, to be exact, and I'll be vying under Azimio.
Okay. Very honest. Goge Kimadi says, is Jubilee a coalition or a party? What is its status now? Azimio la Umoja, is it a movement, a coalition, or an instrument of ODM party? In light of amended Political Parties Act 2022, are 2 coalitions permitted to merge?
No. Well, let me first of all explain Jubilee. Jubilee is a party. Now, Azimio is, the name has been reserved, or probably should, by now our legal team must have registered it as a coalition of parties. So it cannot be ODM alone. Jubilee is there, and ODM is there, and a few others who are kind of founding members of that coalition, which is which must be consistent with the requirements of the Political Parties Act 2022. 2 coalitions are not permitted. You cannot have a coalition being a member, I mean, coming together as 2 coalitions. The provision in the Act is that it is only parties who can be corporate members of a coalition. So a coalition and a coalition is not possible within the law.
By the way, are coalitions the way of the future in Kenya? Because 2002, you were part of NARC, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Is that the future going forward, do you think? Coalitions?
Yes, I think so. I think so, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you look at mature democracies like what is in Germany, there's no time when any party has managed to, you know, to become big enough to win an election. So coalitions is what you find in most of the European countries, Germany, some of the other countries in that region, Belgium, Netherlands, and so forth. Our political system borrows from the Westminster model of the UK, and that's where you find ourselves having, you know, a situation in which we hope we can have a national party, so to speak. But even in the United Kingdom, where we borrow our political system from, you know, now you've had situations where you have coalitions. That's right. And, you know, in the United States, of course, you have just the main 2 parties. But coalitions is a way of managing our diversity until such a time that maybe we'll be able to come together to really have just 1 or 2 national parties. So, you know, as I said, it is work in progress.
Absolutely. Yes. Judy Wahinya Glover says, ask Tuju if we can join his long walks. I'd love to take part in a worthy cause. Thank you.
I'll be doing a 100-kilometer walk in Germany No, in Belgium, and I've got some sponsors for that. But before then, maybe I'll do a few practice walks in Kenya, maybe 50, 60 kilometers. Each of them, I'll try to get sponsors for it. And of course, everyone is welcome. When I was walking to Kijabe, we had more than 200 people. And
right.
The last walk which I did was also just having over 200 people. This was actually sponsored by JTL, Jamii Telecom.
Yeah, Jamii Telecom.
Yes.
Call me. I'll walk with you next time.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Gibson Amenya, maybe Koinange and Tuju, you need to start a journalist school to help nurture and develop upcoming journalists to be of your caliber. Ooh. Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Good think about it.
Jackson Olenjapit says, what a humble guy Tuju is. Very inspiring indeed.
Thank you.
That's on my WhatsApp, yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Listen.
But that does not mean that I'm soft.
Actually, I was going to ask you that. You know, I was going to ask you, do you ever get angry?
I know
you don't look like a guy who gets angry.
No, I manage it. And I think I manage, because to be angry means you lose control. So if you can manage your anger, I think it is in the Bible as well, that to be angry is not a very good thing, because then you make irrational decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutahi Ngunyi, he doesn't write to me very much, but he has tonight.
Yes.
He says, bro, ask Tuju how he survived a plane crash. God loves this man. He needs to give a love offering in all churches. Ruto has given offerings. He says, I will support him.
Well, offerings are done in different ways. It's not just what you offer in churches. Again, let me just give you. I hope the president doesn't kill me for this. But you know, first of all, the president prays, and people don't know. He's not outward with his faith, but in the confines of of rooms where we've sat with him and so forth, he must say the grace before you eat, and he does it himself. I know some of the kids that he has sponsored through schools. He has his foundation. He takes several kids to school. He sponsors them out of the country. I've even sometimes contributed to. I've got some students who have benefited from this foundation. Actually, it's run by Nyokabi, and he doesn't go to the top of the churches to announce that he does all these things in terms of charity. So I don't think it's a question of how much you give to a church pastor. It is how much you help the children of God.
Mutegi Njau, veteran journalist.
He's my friend.
He says, we worked at Voice of Kenya together in the early 80s, Riruta Satellite.
Yes, he used to be my boss.
Mutegi?
Yes, Mutegi was my boss because, he was an editor and I was a reader. I was a very good editor and, I loved reading, his scripts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Great guy,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Great career. Well done, Mutegi.
Yes.
Look, there's someone who's saying, politics is not for nice guys. You're too a nice guy for politics. Politics needs you to be down and dirty and get in the mud and just, in the pits. What do you say? It
is how you define your politics. I think when you see the tweets from Rarieda and the tweets from Siaya, they are not asking me to go to those places because I'm rough and tough. They are asking me to go to those places because of the way I've defined my politics.
Raphael Tuju, I'll give you the last word. Going forward, go on. Speak to Kenyans. You get the last word.
Well, I think, first of all, we ought to be very fortunate. We ought to consider ourselves very fortunate that we are where we are. Whatever differences that we have, we are able to discuss. We are able to do it through a political process, a peaceful one. We're able to discuss. I know, and I don't want to mention that country, but it's a country with which we share borders. And recently, the mayor of their city went to stop some politician who is a former general from building in a place which was like a road reserve. The following day, I mean, the mayor went, he stopped everybody from construction, used the city council policemen. The following, the guy, this very high official in the government, he just came with a tank and continued to continue the construction on this
road reserve.
Yeah, road reserve. Now, we don't have that kind of thing. That can't happen in this country. All right? And this is happening in some of our neighboring countries. We have checks and balances. I was making some of my friends laugh. I mean, you know, in this country, I don't think the president can do some of the things that presidents in some of our regions are able to do. So we have a lot to thank God for, and we have a good country that we should all work very hard to make sure that we make it viable.
Absolutely. I think God loves this country, huh?
Yes.
It's just that we...
And you're a journalist. You've seen it before. I mean, you know, you've gone to some of these countries. I was... you were in war zones. I went to war zones. Yeah. You know, I was in... you know, Ethiopia-Eritrea war. Mm-hmm. I was in Liberia.
Liberia.
Yeah.
Oh, and mess. And they've never recovered.
Yeah, they've never recovered. And I remember one lady I found in Eritrea, and her son had been in the bush for something like 18 years. He went as a little kid. He came back at 38 or something like that, and he didn't have any more hair. And the mother was touching him and asking, "Are you really my son? Are you so and so?" And I asked the mother, "What do you feel?" And she said, "Why didn't these politicians just talk? Why did we have to fight and ruin the life of our children?" So we have not been there yet.
No.
And the tribes of Europe in the Second World War, they killed 65 million of themselves, eh?
That's right.
All right?
That's right.
Now, the worst we had was 2007. I think 1,500 people were killed. A lot of people. But it's not the 65 million which were killed in the European wars.
So we're lucky.
We're lucky, and we should not take it for granted.
Correct. I was about to say we shouldn't push our luck.
Yes.
Rafael Tuju, always a pleasure, and
Thank you.
Wish you all the very best going forward.
Thank you.
You said in 2 weeks you're going to announce, or in 2 months?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You're going to announce?
Yeah, I think I should be able to have finished my consultations.
We await with bated breath.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you, my brother.
And we have to start that school for journalists so that
Yes.
more of them can win.
There you go. You've helped so many kids as it is. I'd love to be a part of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's help the journalists, of the next generation.
Yes. Good.
Nice one.
Thank you.
Rafael Tuju, folks, what a guy. What a career. And it's not over yet. He still wants to serve the people. Wow. Takes a special person to do that. And I can see from your tweets, you've enjoyed this different kind of JKL. Like you said, I didn't need the fire extinguisher.
No.
Just nice and gentle.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's a great conversation.
Thank you.
Keep tweeting at Kwenanga Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks so much for being a part of it. Good night. Good luck. God bless Kenya.